I'm curious for the people who are watching and listening who have no gratitude practice. How can I change? Where do I start? What do I do?
The actual ingredient to my success has been me being positive around people.
You really are that person that from the inside out, you exude just like contentedness with life, peacefulness, happiness, all of those kind of words where you think, I would like to be there one day.
If you put out positive energy, you are going to attract more positive things. Hands down, I'm living proof of it. Start with 1 minute a day, and this is all you have to do. You will see I'm not talking about a minuscule 0.1%. I'm talking about a significant change in your life. In fact, if there's anything I would give somebody, it would be this pill.
Hey friends, and welcome back to The Laura Show. I am here with Jas Takhar, who happens to be my co-founder of my company, but also my boss in another company. So, funny relationship, but I appreciate you being here with me today.
I appreciate you having me, and I wouldn't call it, you said funny relationship, I call it an interesting dynamic.
An interesting dynamic, because in certain regards I have to take, I have to take what you say and do it.
Yeah.
And in others I can fight back.
And you do pretty well in terms of putting on the separate hats and stuff. But before, if it's okay with you, before we get started, I wanted to just give you some flowers. In terms of, I know how much work this takes of putting out content, getting guests. I also am lucky enough to see kind of the back and behind the scenes, the back end. And I know how much you put into this and how much growth you've had in putting yourself out there. And I think more people get, we got to give each other more and more flowers while we're all here. And so you really deserve a huge, huge kudos. And to everybody who's watching and listening, I'm not sure which camera, there's a lot of cameras, like just that in itself, like how serious you're taking this now. Looking for guests, having this team that you're building out, a cool studio that you have set up. But for the people that are watching and listening, I mean, give this girl her due and her respect. And you do that not by paying her. I don't think you're charging people to watch.
Not yet, at least.
Not this right now. So share it, and share it with like one person. You don't need to share it with 50,000 people. It just starts with you sharing it with one person, because I really truly believe that you deserve all that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's actually an interesting segue into what we're going to be talking about today. I really wanted to bring you on. You're actually my first male guest on the podcast.
It goes downhill from here.
It goes downhill, I'm sure. What have I done? What have I opened myself up to? But my first 43 episodes, I just wanted to have my female counterparts on. I've had so many incredible conversations, but it was always my intention to open up the podcast. I just think that was a very safe and comfortable place for me to start. But of course, as I'm opening up into this new chapter and bringing on even more guests, and I'm hoping to have, people who work with me on it, because I think everyone really does have a story to tell. And I wanted to bring you on to talk about this topic of gratitude. And the reason why I brought you on is not because you're a gratitude specialist or you're some type of scientist.
Is there such thing as that?
I don't know, but there should be.
Yeah.
And if there were, actually, you would be it. Because through the 11 years that I've known you, the one thing that I think holds constant throughout all the different types of roles you've played, the jobs you've done, the businesses you've owned, the people that you've interacted with, is that people tend to agree that you are just a very positive and happy person. And I mean, obviously, on the outside looking in, we never know the story that goes behind. Sometimes people fake it, and they have a smile on their face, but they're really behind the scenes struggling. But you really are that person that from the inside out, you exude just like contentedness with life, peacefulness, happiness, all of those kind of words where you think, I would like to be there one day. And so I wanted to bring you on to talk about this because, believe it or not, I mean, I know you would believe it, but maybe the people at home watching or listening wouldn't believe it. But I come from a background not of gratitude. My parents didn't really talk about gratitude growing up. I was kind of the ilk of, like my parents would say, work hard and that's all that we can ask for. And if you tried your best, that's the best. Like that's kind of like the running theme I remember in my childhood, because I would always beat myself up. I was very hard on myself. So that was kind of their way of like helping me not be as hard. Like, did you try your best? Okay, great. That's great. We love you no matter what. But they never spoke about gratitude unless it was like the don't complain because when I went to school, I had to walk up hills both ways. That was really only it. Like, be thankful for what you have. So gratitude never really came into my world until I met you, which is kind of crazy because I think I met you when I was 30. Is that right? That's a long time ago.
We just told everybody your age.
Yeah,
so
right.
For the mathematicians.
For the mathematicians. So, quite some time ago. And I remember you kind of introduced me to personal development books and this idea of gratefulness. And you always said, oh, I'm grateful, I'm grateful, I'm grateful. And I was like, I've never used this word before. So why don't you start by explaining your definition of what you think gratitude means to you?
What does it mean to me? And I appreciate you bringing me on for this topic because I think it really is the most foundational building block that is needed for all humans. Because if you're watching this and listening to this, you automatically have a lot to be grateful for. In terms of the definition, I'm not sure what the exact definition
I know
is.
that you don't know the
You know
real
that
definition.
I don't know. I mean, your viewers and listeners don't know me. That's why I was excited to do this, because I was like, I get to open up my kind of community as well now. But in terms of a definition, I would say realizing what you have and not thinking about all the things that you don't have. That would be my definition. And so for me, it's, and you said something earlier, and I know we're going to kind of banter. It's, we know each other, so it's going to be probably one of those episodes and discussions where we kind of go all over the place. But for me, you said some people do fake it, and it seems like Jas, it's like inside out. And majority of the time it is inside out. But I did want to kind of pipe in there. I just wanted you to finish your sentence and thought process, was that I do fake it sometimes. And I mean that from the perspective of, I also have bad days and bad moments. I try not to let them get to bad weeks and bad months and bad years, but sometimes I'm training my brain to smile and be happy even if I'm not feeling all the emotions tied to that. Like, am I articulating myself?
I totally get it. And it's not like I think that you've always, I've seen you in dark places as well, and we'll probably touch on some of, the more upsetting moments that you've had in your life. But you've always kind of pushed yourself through it quickly. You seem to be able to find the silver lining in things a lot. And I think it's a skill that allows you to move forward faster. It allows 100%. You to jump to other things quickly, where I think a lot of other people, unfortunately, that we've come in contact with, they kind of dwell in it for a long period of time.
And I think you said the word silver lining. I think that there's always a silver lining.
Like, it's annoying, actually, sometimes, to be honest, because sometimes your girl's just a little frustrated.
Yep.
Okay.
And I'm trying to get better with that. Like, not only specifically with you, but with our team and like my personal relationships at home, my family, all that, which is, you also just got to let sometimes people go through it. And I am the guy that would be pointing out the silver lining way too quickly. You got to kind of let people go through it.
Yeah, you used to do that right away.
Yeah, I go to fix it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a man thing, right? And did I already say, like, thanks for me being the first man? And like it's kind of cool. So I appreciate that. But I think it maybe is more of a man thing. Like, we just want to try to fix things, right? And so when the team's not happy with something, it's like, okay, no, look, let's get to the place where we are grateful. We do remind ourselves of all the things that we have. It's not as bad as you think it is, because it could be a lot worse, a lot worse. It's why I mentioned, like, if you're watching this, that means you have some type of device. You either have a phone or you have a TV. That's probably a laptop. If you have something like that in your hands, you have more power than probably anybody in, I don't even have to go that far, like 1980. Like
what I find
40
interesting about this, though, is that if, your baseline starts where it is. So for the mass majority of people who are watching, you've probably always had access to technology, or you grew up certainly in a place where you had things, you had shelter, you had water. So there is a certain level of, like, most people have a certain baseline, so it's hard for them to imagine life without it. So therefore, when things go wrong, they're only comparing it to that kind of baseline, where you seem to have this knack of being able to say, well, things could be a lot worse, and you really go to the place of like, we could be living in another country, you could not have running water, like you could not have shelter, you could, all these things, and you really go there quite easily.
And very quickly. And probably for somebody, if there is a such thing as a gratitude specialist, or they have a PhD in it, or definitely like a psychologist, or what's the other one? A psychotherapist?
Psychiatrist.
Psychiatrist, or whatever. They would probably say, no, that's kind of weird. There's something behind, like, sure. But here's how I go, actually, probably to the extreme a lot and very quickly. Like, I've had thoughts a lot of like my parents passing away. Like, I have 2 little young boys, like them passing away. My brothers, my wife, my team. Like, I go really quickly right outside my family. I go to you guys. Like, we obviously have had some tragedy with, like, in our own circle from our business life, who was also in our personal life. But like, I go to the extreme quickly. So if none of those things happened, it's quite easy to deal with the client calling me and telling me they're not going to do business with me. Something that we go through in our actual company with the coaching academy, them like their credit card bouncing, or what's the other one, right? Like, I need to take a couple of months off and restart, whatever the hell it is, right? And I'm not downplaying what they're saying, but to me, it's all kind of in the same bucket. It's either, did something really bad happen? And the really bad, that stuff like I spoke about, something physically happening to you, to Weiwei and Alex, my family, that stuff, I don't even know how I would get over it, and like in terms of how quickly I would get over it, but I also know I would get over that because life does go on. And when it's all everything else, to me, it's actually quite binary. Like, it's coming through me right now. Did anything like that happen that was a tragedy? No. Everything else is doable in terms of fixing it, getting past it.
So I want to touch on the fact that obviously, I mean, you guys can tell he's a positive person. It comes naturally to him. So that obviously has good effects in terms of like your relationships with other people. If you're exuding positive, you're confident, content with your own life, you tend to be able to give that to other people.
Really quickly, Alto, that has actually been my ingredient, and I don't even think I've ever said this. That's actually been the ingredient for my success. Because we joke about it, I go on stage and all this kind of stuff when we train people, and I say, look, I'm not going to be able to spell half the words I say. I can probably spell more than half the words I'm saying, but I'm trying to go to the extreme on stage to drive a point home, which is the actual ingredient to my success has been me being positive around people. Because what I noticed, and this probably at a young age, I didn't realize it then, I realize it now, people want to be around people that are positive and smiling. Like we are internally going through so much shit in our own heads. And I apologize if I took you kind of off track.
You sure did, but that's all right. Okay. I'm used to this.
Okay, good. Yeah.
I prepared myself.
Yeah, I'm glad that you did. That we go so much in our own heads that when you're around people who are positive, it's like, wow, like, okay, there's something uplifting. Maybe it changed my state. And that's why I've been able to have, I'm not talking about billions of dollars in terms of success. I've never made billions of dollars, yet. But I think that has actually been the ingredient to my success.
So on top of the interpersonal skills, obviously with other people, there's also the gratitude practice and what it does for you inside. So there's a lot of science that showcases like people who have a gratitude practice actually have like lower blood pressure, their heart rate is lower, they sleep better, less chances of strokes.
I never knew any of
all
this.
of these things. So there's benefits that run through and through. So not just with other people, but when you think of your own life and not maybe through the belongingness and connecting with others, but through the your physical health, your physical sanity, the chatter perhaps in your head. People who have a gratitude practice tend to do better on all of those scales. So I'm curious, where did your gratitude practice start?
My parents taking us to the temple. I never understood it, and it was always a nuisance because it was like Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. Sorry, Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon. And you're a kid, like you want to play. Like in fact, even at the temple, we found rooms to play in. Broke some windows in the temple, like playing foot hockey and all that kind of stuff. So it was always a nuisance as a kid. But as I got a little bit older, probably into my like teenage years, like 12, 13, 14 kind of thing, I started to ask more questions. And there was this, when you go to the temple, if you're not playing and you're actually sitting where the congregation is happening, there is meditation that happens and you have to get quiet. And so I think for me, it started with my parents taking us there, myself and my two older brothers, and then watching my parents being just grateful. Again, you said this earlier. Go ahead.
I'm just curious, was the meditative part of temple, was it quiet or was it led with hymns?
Both.
Okay.
Both. It's actually, I'm of Punjabi descent, and most Punjabi people are follow the faith of Sikhism, and that would include both hymns as well as meditation, quietness. Okay. And so with my parents, to your point earlier, like the word, I didn't even know the word gratitude, right? My parents hardly speak English; they didn't know either. There's probably a couple of words in our language that mean that.
Yeah.
I just got to kind of.
But they weren't obviously saying them.
They weren't saying it, Laura. What they did a lot, like they showed it. They showed it.
How'd they do that?
Right? Like simple things. A lot of people, we probably happen in our homes as well, right? Which was finish your meal, because there's a lot of people that don't have what we have at our table right now. I don't want to eat this. I would say to my mom, she's like, this is what we have, be happy. And whatever she would have said in our language, that would have been equivalent to grateful. This is what we have, you're not going to eat otherwise. And just to remind you, there's a lot of people in this world that don't have a lot of food.
It's interesting. I feel like that tactic doesn't generally work with people. Like making them feel guilty.
Yeah.
Because to guilt someone into gratitude,
Yeah.
probably isn't a great strategy. It has to kind of come within. You can't just force someone to say, like, I'm so grateful it's raining today, and therefore they're grateful inside.
I get it, and so I don't disagree with you, but my mom had a grade 4 education and my dad grade 8 education. So they didn't know anything else other than trying to guilt you.
Right. No, but I'm saying, did the guilt work with you?
100%, because they made me sit by myself also and then sit there and eat. And it's like, why do they always say this? Who are all these people that don't have food? Because we have a TV. You know, we didn't grow up with everything, but we also didn't grow up with nothing. We're kind of lower middle class, I guess would be the safe thing to say, but always had food, always had clothes, had the roof over our head. It's really basic in terms of getting into gratefulness. And so for me, while I'm sitting there by myself, I'm like, okay, maybe there is something to this. Maybe there is people that don't have much. And then you start watching and look. I still remember till this day, because you already aged yourself, so I can do this with you as well. You know, there's always that commercial with the kids in Africa.
Yes.
That didn't have food. I'm like, wow, I get, is this I get to look at their body. Like there's
they had
nothing
edema
on it. Yeah.
with the swollen stomachs.
Exactly. I didn't even know. I didn't know what are these big words again, right? But
or kwashiorkor, I think.
There you go. Now you're.
I'm coming from my nutrition background, pulling from it, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. Those are some big words. So for me, I seeing that and then just asking more questions about what people don't have made me really get into my own self and say, wow, I am lucky. Wow, I am very, very lucky. And then you start to get to the next level. It's like, wow, am I ever lucky not only to have a dad and mom, but I have two older brothers, right? Like, look, I said the extreme part where I think I get to gratefulness really quickly. I also get to wow, I'm so lucky. I think I'm quite blessed. I actually think, and this is maybe the definition of narcissism or something like that. I come from the ilk of wow, I think I'm chosen. Why did God put me in the position, in the family I have, the family that I've been able to grow now, and all of you.
And is that part of the religion?
I think so.
To teach that kind of quality, you are each individually a chosen one?
I can't answer that because I don't know. I don't know. It's not like I read our holy book.
You were paying half attention.
100%. Yeah, half attention.
Okay, so then
right?
I'm
So,
curious because a lot of young people kind of go through this moment in life where, you know, your parents teach you a bunch of things all along. You believe them, believe them, believe them. And then you get to kind of that critical age, and it's probably in your teens. Maybe, you know, some people maybe earlier, some people later, where you start to question almost the teachings of your parents. You start to realize, like, my parents don't know all the answers. My parents don't know everything. In fact, my parents kind of suck at a lot of things. And it's that realization of like, wait a minute, if they suck at this, or they're not, you know, that's not their strength, to put it a little nicer, what else maybe were they lying to me about or inaccurate about? Did you ever question them on that? Because
no.
for me, like when I first heard the term like be grateful, meditate, like I was like, what is this foofy, faffy?
Yeah.
Like, you want me to just, like, it was almost like this seems too easy to be true.
Yeah.
Because you're telling me that everything good from a health perspective, a society perspective in my life is going to come from me being quiet and then just saying, like, nice things to myself. That seemed a little far-fetched to me. Did you ever go through that?
No, I didn't actually, because I started to realize without knowing that it was gratefulness, I just ended up getting more goodness in my life throughout the teenage years. And this is even through like teachers calling my parents and telling them like, this is, you know, there's something wrong with this kid. Me realizing my grades like weren't up to par with everyone else. But I was always being brought new people into my life that were teaching me new things.
And you had the skill at such a young age to recognize that. Because I think some people would say, well, I'm not getting the grades, so I'm not clearly not the chosen one. But you were like, no, I'm the chosen one anyway.
Yeah, no, but, well, I mean, I think that was a lot to do with parenting. Like my parents told me, you know, I wear this sweater, you are enough. There's a tie to what my parents brought to me in my life and how they spoke to me. But I went from like one mentor to another mentor, and they got, I guess in like business terms, I got more and more successful. Like they were more and more successful than the person before. And then that opened me up to more things. So when I gave you or suggested to you, and I don't even remember because I just do it with everybody, like the personal development books and all that kind of stuff, that didn't come into my world till about 22, 23.
Okay.
Right? But before that, I met a mentor who just showed me a lot of love. Like he didn't say, read this book or listen to this audio CD. I'm aging myself now. But it was more of, here's how you can actually get better. Let me show you, right? The guy before that was somebody at the bank who was just kind of teaching me the ropes. And so as I started to get older, I'm like, wow, I am somebody who people are attracted to. And it's obviously not my looks, right? Like it's something about the aura that I put out there.
And would you call that charisma, or would you call that just it's the gratitude coming through?
For me, charisma is probably the byproduct. For me, is a byproduct of being grateful. Like now, at the age of 42, almost 43, it's all about gratitude for me because it just builds upon itself. And I think you touched on something earlier that I wanted to jump in on is the reason gratefulness works is because you're at a state of happiness. And because you're on that frequency, we're all just a ball of energy. I don't need to have a PhD in this. We just are all a ball of energy. And energy, if you put out positive energy, you are going to attract more positive things. Hands down, I'm living proof of it. And now I've watched millions upon millions of people manifest certain things into their world. And you're always manifesting. So now that it becomes a choice of, are you manifesting something of what you want more of or less of? Unfortunately, most people think about what they want less of.
They go to the negative. This is very interesting because before, you might not know this, but I did a little bit of research before this podcast, some scientific research. And I think most of us know, like as humans, but in case you don't, like as humans, we tend to flock to the dark, so to speak. So even when it comes to light in our eyes, for example, like humans have had to adapt because that light means danger. So our retinas change, our lenses change. I'm not sure actually of the science. I listened hard and studied hard, but not that hard.
Okay.
And the same thing goes for negative experiences or negative emotions. We tend to put more weight on the negative than on the positive. Negative comments on your YouTube channel, for example. You might get 1 out of 100, but that one is the one that's going to stick to you as a survival instinct. So it's always that we needed to use these things out of, this is feedback, whether it be physiological or social feedback, and I need to fit in, so therefore I'm going to change myself or adapt myself in a way to fit in. And you know, that's obviously probably worked all along the way for humans and societies because community was obviously very important. We made it as a species, not because we were bigger, taller, faster, stronger, but because we had a community of people working and thinking together. So obviously it was very dangerous to be ostracized from the community, which is why, you know, you'd want to fit in and you would take that negative critique and then you might change yourself. You, on the other hand, you have had some very pivotal moments in your life that I think have been, you know, tragic, for lack of a better word, but you have had the ability to focus on the positive. Do you think you could touch on maybe one of those stories for the audience, just so they know kind of how gratitude has worked its way in a real life scenario?
For sure. So I've had 2 moments in my life that, going back to what we were speaking earlier, if that every day one of these 2 things don't happen, I'm perfectly fine. 2 phone calls that changed the course of my life and how I'm able to quickly get into the positive. And it doesn't happen right away. It's not like when these 2 things happen, it was like the next morning I was good or whatever. It took me weeks, months, still dealing with some of it. At 17, I got a call first thing in the morning at 8:30 that my buddy the night before got into a drinking and driving car accident, and I was with him 7 hours before. He left me, got into another car. The person obviously had something to drink, hit a pole, a street that we take on a regular basis. Got that call at 8:30 in the morning. It was one of my 3 closest friends at the age of 17. First time I ever dealt with. You know, my grandparents, one of them probably passed away, but I was younger.
And that's not as tragic.
It's not as tragic.
Yeah.
And as close as I was with my grandparents, I wasn't like my best friend. We used to sleep over, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And then at the age of 35, I got a call at 10:30 at night that my business partner, mentor, and really third older brother, someone, you know, that you know very, very well as well, went into a restaurant and never came back out. And so those 2 calls, as I mentioned, if I wake up in the morning and I don't hear anything about the night before and I go to sleep and I don't get a call, every single day, Laura, and you know me really well, it's probably not something I've even never told you, but every day that doesn't happen, I'm like, everything else is perfectly fine. I mean, you were there, the team was there, not as tragic as the 2 stories that I just told you, but I think my car got stolen like 4 times.
I was thinking about this story.
Yeah, 4 times in the past, I don't know, 2 years or something like that.
Like that would have thrown me.
But
like in fairness, that would have just thrown me.
But Laura, like if you guys didn't find out maybe from a call that you overheard me speaking to the police officer and or maybe the insurance company, you would never know. Mm-hmm. Like you would not have known.
Well, and it's not like I think you were keeping it secret. It just wasn't that big a deal to you.
Yeah, no.
So it was like, just put it on my checklist of things I need to do today. Yeah. Call the police, you know, call my insurance company.
That's it. Yeah. Throw it on the list. I mean, look, one of the first, you know, I guess it's nostalgic to talk about this. Like the first trip we ever went on for my podcast.
Yeah.
Flight got canceled, right?
Yeah.
And then what was it?
We had to take a train. I lost my phone.
You lost your phone, and then we had to go through all this. But you saw me back then. That was pretty early on in our relationship, where it was like, okay, the next thing. What do we got to check off? What do we got to check off? And I think going back to the car stolen stuff, everyone has the ability to do this. I truly, all jokes aside about being chosen and special and all that, everyone is though. We all got some dust sprinkled on us. And I mean fairy
Well,
dust.
in fairness, you're the chosen one simply because you have a 1 in 700 billion
No, 400
trillion.
400 trillion chance in being born.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So
so we all are.
That technically just your
100%.
existence is lucky. Yeah.
100%, right? And so you just gotta get to pulling on the tool. That's what it is. And the reason I'm emphasizing the word tool is because it's accessible to everybody. That when something happens, I'm not saying be numb to it and suppress your feelings. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying get yourself into a place as quickly as possible. For me, 90% of things, it's, I don't know, nothing more than 90 minutes. I get myself to a place where it's like, get the silver lining. Where's the silver lining? Shit, I can't pull on it. I can't pull on it. I can't find it. Okay, kids, you guys good? Okay, good. I got it now. So that is the string and the tool that I pull on. And so get yourself to that place as quickly as possible. One of the ways to do that is just surround yourself. Like, you know, you're great case in point, because you said earlier, it was kind of foofy-foffy maybe to you, but how long are the crew around you gonna get, like how long are they gonna allow you to stay in negativity?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you lead a team of people,
Yeah.
or you have a family, if you're negative, at some point they're just not going to want to be there anymore.
But even if you don't, like, yes,
You're not
but
going to
now,
inspire them to work.
I have a funny feeling, without knowing your actual community and your viewers and listeners, but majority of them probably don't have a team, let's just say.
Right.
Okay, safe to say. So the person just works somewhere. Look, if you can always get another job. If 40 hours a week, it's a lot of time. 40 hours of a week, you're working at a place that is one of a negative aura, you probably should get out of there. Find another job. Easier
Oh, so
said than
you're
done.
kind of talking from the perspective of you need to surround yourself with positive people. So if you're not, remove yourself.
Remove yourself.
Okay, sorry. I thought you were saying like if you're the negative person.
No. I'm saying, well, and maybe we can even touch on that
Yeah.
for a second. Like, if you're the negative person, the question I would ask you to ask yourself, how well has that served you? I'm not here to judge. Do you?
How well has that served you?
Like, I'm hoping to inspire one person. That's why I'm here today. But if it hasn't served you well, like, being the same person and expecting a different result is the truth. Now, that definition I know in the dictionary. It's called insanity.
Yes.
Right? And so why not change some of that? And I need to go back to something, because I thought you might have went down this path, and I was like, oh shit, like, you're kind of taking the research I've done in general about humans and emotions and experiences. Take a wild guess. Okay, Laura? How many words in the English dictionary do you think there are, hot take, that are associated with emotions?
Well, I don't know how many words
Great.
there are. in
544,
Okay.
approximately.
Okay.
So let's just
So
use
what is that?
500.
What's
Joy.
the percentage of
Great. So
that?
so this is that. This is where I'm going.
Yeah.
So there's approximately 500 words
Okay.
in the English dictionary, and I'm gonna sway to the Canadian English, that are associated with emotions. 70% of them are associated with negative emotions.
So we have a lot more words for negative emotions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. We also tend to use more of those negative emotions.
Yes.
Right? What I'm trying to articulate here is if you can get the list of positive emotions, fill yourself up, your brain, with those positive emotions more. Why? Because you'll actually attract more positivity in your life.
So I imagine because you sort of essentially started a gratitude practice at so young, you might not have called it a gratitude practice, but you were doing something in and around gratefulness that was unaware to you, but it's like your nature.
Yeah.
I'm curious for the people who are watching and listening who have no gratitude practice. They didn't go to temple.
Yeah.
This has not been something that was in their vocabulary, but they've heard now, it's not like this is the first time gratitude's being discussed, all the benefits to it. Maybe they want change in their life. Like, I am the problem. It seems like I'm the nucleus and everyone around me is negative and I'm just breeding more negativity. How can I change? Where do I start? What do I do? What would be your advice to them?
Look, first know that you're not going to be able to change this in a day. You got to practice. You've used that word a couple of times. I just heard you say it right now. This is something that you need to practice. Look, I mean, I think the camera adds 20 pounds, 15 pounds, so people are not going to be able to tell, but I'm trying.
It's only 10, Jas.
Yeah, I know.
It's only 10. That's just actually how you look.
Yeah, okay. Damn it. I'm trying to get into better shape, not for the Jas today, not for more energy. I don't think it's helped me in any of that stuff. I have a lot of energy. I don't need it for any other reason than the 72-year-old Jas. So 30 years from now, I want to look back and say, hey man, like you weren't lazy, dude. Like at least you moved and you took care of yourself starting at kind of 42. I say that because it takes practice. You know this more. Like any chance I get to throw you under the bus, I would. But like you like to eat a lot, and so you generally should be bigger as a person. Like, is that safe to like? You know what I mean? Like, you should. The way that you
From what you see me consume,
Yes.
you're surprised I'm not bigger.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. What do you do on a regular basis? I have a funny feeling you take working out very seriously, right? And it's scheduled. You might go 4 days without doing it. You're on vacation, whatever it is. You kind of always get back to it.
Yeah.
And this has been for how long? 10 years, 12 years,
Oh.
5 years?
Actually, probably 10 years. Yeah.
A decade. That's a long time, right? And so because you've been practicing it, you're so much better at it. I'm also realizing like it's a lot of effort.
At the start.
At the start, it's a lot of effort. It's like going uphill, like with a boulder. It's a lot of work. So I want to make sure everybody understands that this new tool that you're trying to obtain, that it's going to take work. How do you do it? A minute a day. I know I'm working out, and I haven't lifted weights in the 3 months that I've been kind of doing this. I haven't lifted one weight, not one. All I've been doing is my own body weight. I have a lot of my own weight.
Got some excess weight there?
I don't need the dumbbells. Right. I got some extra dumbbells lying around my body, right? And so what did I do? 15 minutes. I was like, let me just move for 15 minutes. I haven't moved for 15 minutes in an active way, focused, in a long time. So start with 1 minute a day. And this is all you have to do. Simple. Because you also said, like, at a young age, you didn't call it gratitude. You know what I think it was, Laura? It was thankfulness. That's the other word.
Yeah.
Like, it's just always
The actual definition of gratitude in the dictionary is the quality of being thankful.
Boom. So I came to it, okay? It just took me 27 minutes. Just give me some time. Start with everything that you could be thankful for. And now I've done this with a lot of people. And a lot of people would say is I don't got anything to be thankful for. You just brush it off. I get it. Stay focused with me. 60 seconds I need you for. 60 seconds I need you for, okay? What could you be thankful for? Maybe that's the second question. Well, Jas, I'm not married. I don't have kids. I don't have X,
I'm
Y, Z.
renting a property.
I'm renting a property. Okay, great. So you do have a roof? All right, let's start there. Can you just put your hand on your heart for a second? Is that thing beating? Okay, can you just be thankful for the fact that if you slept for, well, if you're Laura, you probably slept for, 12 hours or something like that? But most people...
8.5 hours.
Okay, most people slept for 8 hours.
Yeah.
That thing beated, is that the word? Yeah.
All night long.
All night long without you telling it. I'm talking extremes now, okay? Start there for 60 seconds a day. Okay. Okay? Physically, and I just did it right now. I don't necessarily need to get to that. I don't need to go to that extreme, but I'm like, oh shit, I haven't felt my heartbeat for a while. That's kind of cool, right? And it was beating all night long. And so if you do this for 60 seconds, just saying thank you for my toes, thank you for my fingers, thank you for the heart beating, thank you for the roof over my head, thank you for the coffee I had today, thank you. You do that. All I'm asking you to do is for a week. I'm not saying 30 days. I'm not saying, I don't know, there's people say there's scientific proof you do something for 21 days, yada, yada, yada. Do it for a week. And I guarantee you that will be your favorite 60 seconds of the day. Why? You're filling yourself up with all these things all the emotions, and And happiness for all the other hours in the day you might not, but for 60 seconds, you just got to be thankful. And I guarantee you, on top of the fact that it's going to be your favorite minute of the day, like literally you're going to want to do it for the rest of your life. Okay? I do it now. I try for at least 4 to 5 minutes. I've added prayer to it. I go really deep into myself for all the things I got to be thankful for. I go to my family. I go to work, why I call it work family, like you guys. I thank everybody who comes to me in my community now. So then I start going outside. That takes me about 4 minutes to kind of do every single day. I've been doing that. I'm 42, as long as I can remember, at least 14, 15,
So
long.
I imagine,
Sorry,
you do this
and really quickly, Laura, I apologize. 14, 15, it's why I'm able to tap into it quicker. I'm able to tap into it quicker because I've been doing it for so long. So just don't underestimate what you can do in a decade, and stop overestimating what you might be able to do in like one day.
time of day that you think it's best to do this?
I think if you could do it twice a day, that's the best. That's the best. Before you go to sleep, because a funny thing happens, and this is stuff that people should, it's all Googleable and ChatGPT it nowadays. Whatever you think about before you go to sleep will seep into your subconscious. You will wake up, and you probably have felt it before. You woke up and like, oh my God, what a great idea. Well, it's probably because you slept on it.
Right.
Like you were thinking about it when you went to sleep. Do it before you go to sleep and first thing in the morning. If you can give yourself 2 minutes in a day, I know I said a minute earlier, but if you can give
one
yourself
at night, one
at
in the
night,
morning.
one in the morning, you will see I'm not talking about a minuscule 0.1%. I'm talking about a significant change in your life. In fact, if there's anything I would give somebody, it would be this pill.
That's just it. It's like people say, like, I want the pill to be happier, I want the pill to be healthier, I want the pill to be strong, all these things. It's like, this is the pill, and all it takes is 2 minutes a day.
2 minutes, yeah. Well, you're gonna want to do it always. Like,
And okay, so this is what I'm curious, because when I think of like people talking about meditating, not that gratitude is meditating per se, but it can be part of a meditative
For sure.
practice.
Yeah.
I mean, I think most people view meditation as, not seeping into any specific thought, like not focusing on any specific thought, kind of like zenned out, focusing on the breath, letting thoughts kind of come and go, where this is like, no, you're focusing on a specific thought. Some people like to go into meditation before they go into a gratitude practice, but they're not required, apparently the science says, to work in tandem by any means. So you could do this in a minute, but I'm curious, when I started meditation, I was like, okay, let me try this stupid thing. And then you lay down and I'm like, okay, I'm meditating. I don't feel more relaxed. In fact, I feel worse. Oh my God, I think I'm about to have a panic attack because why am I so bad at meditating? Why can't I do this? Oh my God, I'm the worst person on the planet. And it was such an awful first experience. Like, it was so bad that it took me years to come back to it because I thought this made it worse, not better. And everyone's telling me how good this is. Well, this shit doesn't work and everyone else is a liar. I feel like the same thing goes for a gratitude practice where you're saying, like, you're going to see an impact. And obviously you already talked about practice and you got to do this over time. But there is a bit of an art, I imagine, to the just thinking like, I'm so grateful for a roof over my head. I'm so grateful that I had lunch today. I'm so grateful. Like, do you see how I'm saying it?
100%.
Where I feel like when people start, that's where they start.
And that's okay. I actually think the way you did it and said it, is that is that out of a 10, like the best way to be grateful? Would I call that a 10? No, I would call that 1. But that 1's better than 0. Mm-hmm. So that is huge. If you can just say, I'm grateful for the food. Start there. I'm like, you haven't done it?
So you're saying it's okay if you don't believe it right away?
100%. 100%. So to your point about your meditation, I'm glad that you said scientifically, right? Because people like hearing that kind of stuff, right? So I get it. Personally, never meditated. I don't even, I'm sure I could get better at it if I started. I've never meditated in that sense, right? Like zenned out and I have way too many thoughts. I can't shut myself up, right? In the sense of when you're actually practicing it, I would go down the route of feeling the emotions.
So
That
that's
is
the
important.
addition.
That's
Right.
the addition.
So
That's
how do
where you
I
wanna get
take
to.
I'm so grateful
Yeah.
for the roof over my head into feeling the emotion?
Well, I think, look, you gotta play a little and remember when we were kids, and you have to imagine. You gotta go and imagine a little bit. Like, our parents and people who were older did kind of screw us up a little bit because they told us, no, don't jump in the puddle, Laura, you're gonna get messy. Da, 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 da. Like, that's not good. You shouldn't do this, so on and so forth. I think to feel the emotions, you have to be childlike. And look, feel the emotion of love. Feel the emotion of having that roof over your head, how good it makes you feel. Because when I was speaking about frequency, that is what really attracts. And people will understand this with the negative side, right? Meaning, when they're thinking about, I don't have enough money, you know how real that fucking
And
feeling
what's
is?
intense.
It's
right? You're adding a level of intensity
called
to
it
it. It's like,
real,
oh
and
my
that's
God,
the
and
word.
like, and
And look
and
at how
your heart
your
rate
face
starts
changed.
rising, and
Exactly. Look how your face changed when you were talking about that you didn't understand.
meditation.
Like, anxious, how am I gonna? Okay, so see how real? But none of it is that real. Like, so what I would do is, and this is also scientific, that the brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's fake. I'm gonna say that again. The brain has no clue when it's experiencing something that is real. I know this is real. We're having it. Like, I can touch your card. I know this is real. But you could also have this same feeling and experience without it being real. But the brain doesn't know the difference. However, so what it will give you, and I've said it a couple of times, but it's so important because I want people to get more of what they want. And the way to do it is starting off, like if we tell people to feel the emotions and they haven't started even with the thoughts, we're gonna lose them. So you start with the thoughts, then feel the emotions. I'm already telling you that if you believe it or not, it doesn't matter. It's kind of like gravity. It's always going to do its thing, okay? That you are having the results you're currently having based on your feelings and thoughts in the last 30, 90, 365 days. So now if you want to change your future, just be very, very cautious and conscious about those thoughts that you're having.
So I'm interested. I was listening to the Huberman Lab this morning.
Love that guy.
Yeah, he's so cool.
So cool.
Andrew Huberman?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's his name.
Dr. Andrew.
He is a doctor, yes, a neuroscientist. And so he talks about all these different, he talks about sleep and about what vitamins you should take, all sorts of things when it comes to science and health. And so I was listening to a gratitude practice one. And they've done like a lot of studies on gratitude, as I've already mentioned, but there was one particular that I thought was very interesting that, yes, saying the I'm so grateful for my house doesn't actually work, but it might be a good first step.
Yeah.
Right? So if you don't feel the feelings, you're not going to get the benefit. So if you can associate a feeling behind it and you can get your heart rate to do different things and be excited, just as excited about something as you would if it was negative, that does help, right? So maybe it's even like, standing while you do it, or walking, get your heart rate up, or, start getting like almost like passionate about it. Like, I'm so happy about my house, and like say it out loud. That can help as well. But what they actually found the best way to be great, to practice a gratitude, was 2 ways. Number one was to receive something of gratitude from somebody else. So if I wrote you a letter of how much you've impacted me and how grateful I am to you, that would actually make you a more grateful person if you thought about that letter.
So are you going to write me this?
No.
Okay.
No, because you're good already.
Thank you.
I'll spend my time elsewhere.
But I'm human. I like gifts.
I brought you on the show. That's
Right.
that's the
gift.
gratefulness.
Great gift.
And then they also laugh because it's like, well, you can't just sit around all day and wait for somebody to give you like a nice letter.
Makes sense, yeah.
But what if you could, at times in your life where you've gotten a birthday card, an anniversary card, maybe a speech at your wedding, if you can get that copy of that from your friend, a nice comment on a post that you posted, a colleague wrote you something, anything in your life that you can think of where you have received like gratefulness, acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Like if someone else was thankful for
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
and you replay that story in your head. And this, it does need to be story like, oh, there was this person, and then they wrote this about me, and I remember the moment, because the way the human brain works is like we really like stories. We tend to remember stories better.
Yeah.
So try to have a story around it. Outside of that, if you can't find something like that, actually, like the reason why we love like movies and such is because A, there's a great story, but we're really fascinated with movies that like touch us. Like if we watch somebody else doing something nice for somebody in a movie, we're like, oh my God, that's so sweet. Or think of like when you're at like the grocery store and like an older woman can't reach something, and you happen to witness somebody come along and grab something for her or carry her bag for her. And you see that and you're like, oh my God, that's so wonderful. That feeling of watching nice things happen in the world can also make you very grateful.
We all get that feeling in our
Yes.
heart.
So you know, if you're having a hard time with the thinking and the feelings, perhaps another avenue that you could go down is just trying, like, you know, whether it's taking a screenshot and saving something in a folder in your phone so that you can turn to in the morning and say, okay, what are the things that I'm grateful for? I'm gonna, you know, this story, and you recycle the same story again and again. It's about consistency. That actually just automatically makes you feel good. And today I was thinking of someone that we worked with recently. I'm not going to say her name, but where she was having a really hard time feeling positive. She was having a hard time with content, didn't want to put herself out there, was really, really fearful to do any type of stage presentation, just didn't believe in herself. And she told me some, you know, stories about her past, and you can understand how a person might get to this place of not feeling that confident. And, you know, she's like, what do I do and how do we get over this? And we did this improv class with this group. And she wrote us after each individually, like how thankful she was. And she said, this is the most fun I've had. I haven't laughed this hard and I can't remember. And you know what I was thinking? I was like, that to me is such a great, like, it doesn't have to be a big story where like you save some child's life and that's why people, just something where you touch somebody in a really positive way. And I was like, that's going to be my story, because my purpose, my goal is I want to spread joy. I like that positive emotion of joyfulness and belongingness, and that's what I try to do with the podcast. But that's also what I try to do with my regular life, my regular job. And that's one little thing that I think I've done that. And you know, she doesn't also realize, like her thanking me, what a gift she's given me.
Yeah.
Right?
Look, I think another quick little strategy, and maybe it's because I liked cookies, and so I think of a cookie jar. But just simply, just simply, something that good happened for you. Write it down on a little piece of paper. Put it in the cookie jar, and come back on your birthday. These, you know, significant days. I guess people look at calendars. Your birthday or the year turning over, right? And just look back at all the stuff that you were grateful for. It's just a reminder, right? It's why a lot of people have gratitude journals, right? You don't need to go buy some expensive software or app. Like, I get the technology thing, but I think sometimes, you know, I know it happens to me. I do screenshots and then
we have to save them in a folder. Your gratitude folder,
exactly,
something like that.
Right? Look, I think one thing that is free, you don't have to write it down. Like, for yourself and everybody who's watching or listening right now, if you think about one of the moments on a regular basis, probably daily for most of us, but I'm sure, you know, every other day, that we feel really good is when someone hugs us or kisses us. You go home, you get a hug from hubby. You know what I mean? Feels good. You got the hug. Okay. You see your mom. I'm sure, like,
mom's hug is different, though. You can't.
Okay. You have a brother.
There's nothing like
your
a
brother,
mom's hug.
Your brother.
Yes, no,
okay?
Of course.
Your nieces.
Yes.
Right? All that. Like, you feel so good.
Yeah.
You get the hug. And, you know, your family kisses you. It feels good. You could give that to yourself at any time for free. And yes, it might be weird if you do it in front of people, but you'll get to a place where, like, it won't even be weird when you do it in front of them. Do it while you're driving. You do weird shit anyways when you're driving, most people, right? Like, how about you hug yourself? And you, again, that is an act of gratefulness.
Right, because you're being thankful to you. I actually do that now after I do my workout.
Which is what?
I kiss my arm. I'm like, oh, thank you so much.
Do you ever high
this
five
work."
yourself?
Sometimes in the
Right?
mirror,
Like,
yeah.
look,
yeah.
we all walk around as our
There's
team.
1,000 different ways.
100%, right? Like, we walk around as our team. We have handshakes and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
we give each other high fives. Great job, Z. Great job, Tel. Right?
Yeah.
Like, do that to yourself. How can you possibly give someone something that you don't have? It's very, very difficult to be selfless. You have to be selfish first. So there is nothing wrong. Somebody proved me wrong, but I've been pretty good the way that, living with this. I fill myself up first. I fill myself up because it helps me to now give to other people.
It's actually selfless to be selfish.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because you're not going to be the best version of yourself to anybody unless you're taken care of. So by you taking care of yourself, that's actually you being selfless, and because now you can give.
And that's why most people like to work out in the morning. That's when they do their meditation. That's where they do their gratefulness.
Well, you may as well start the day off right.
100%. 100%.
I appreciate you kind of encapsulating our conversation the way you did. I kind of wanted to just end it on my own personal journey a little bit through this, because obviously, as I've mentioned, this did not come very naturally to me. And at times I questioned it, doubted it, gave up on it. But I was always curious and I kept coming back to it. And I think it's interesting because actually it's not unlike when you're working out, as we've talked about, you don't see the bicep slowly get bigger, but all of a sudden, like 4 months in, you're like, oh, it looks different. But you didn't notice the small things, or you see yourself in a photo and you're like, oh, there might be an ab there that wasn't there. Oh, my second chin is gone. You don't notice the small differences over time. But at some point you will kind of just notice it very quickly. And like yesterday, I take showers in the evening, and I was just taking the shower and I was like, oh, I'm so thankful for this shower. Because like I was just enjoying it so much, and I wasn't consciously thinking like it wasn't like I should be thankful for the shower. You just start to realize like, oh, I'm saying these things a little bit more naturally. And I do truly believe it's made me, I don't know the percentage, but on the happiness scale, a happier person.
So it has.
I definitely think so. And I'm going to say out of 10, I think I was always a decently happy person. But let's say I went from like a 7.3 to like a solid 8.1.
Do you find yourself, sorry, was I cutting off like a soliloquy of yours or anything?
No.
Do you find yourself less anxious?
And less anxious, 100%.
But
I'm still a very anxious person,
less,
but the extreme to which I was,
less.
And like I like to think that came with maturity, but maybe maturity is just learning new tools, learning how to deal with it.
When you say that came with maturity, maybe
like
my definition
just
is
through
because
getting
you got
older.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people can get older, Laura. Yeah, but I think and a lot of people can get older and not necessarily get less anxious or get less of something or get even more of something. Personally, I like to think it is because you're in a shower and for no reason, not because it's your grateful moment.
Yeah, that's not even when I do my grateful practice. Yeah.
It just was, whoa, I'm so thankful for this. Right? I hear you say it more often out loud, like, oh, like I'm really thankful for our team. Like,
yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where in the past, it wasn't like that you weren't
thankful for them.
That's what I'm saying. You were not that you would say I hate my team.
I wasn't focused on it.
Yes, you weren't saying it much, right? So I think that's the W that I hope everybody catches on to, which is we're just trying to make some slight changes. The slight changes compound into significant changes. Your bicep analogy was probably the best because most people are working out, and so they can understand. They're like, yeah, man, like don't.
You didn't notice it in the first day.
What's this thing? That's a back muscle. Like, you know what I mean? Like you feel it, you notice it more, and so I think that was the best way in terms of an analogy.
Any parting words or strategies, tips, tools that you'd like to leave our audience with?
Look, first and foremost, was I the best male guest?
You have been the best male guest to date.
I want to hit that. I want to check that off.
Can't promise going forward.
So right now I am. Yeah. I think that if you can just get to a place where you're consistently being thankful, you will be surprised how much more you'll have to be thankful for.
I love that. And I'm going to end it off by being grateful to you, because without your help, I would have never honestly started this podcast. And I didn't mention it at the start, but you have been an integral part. You have also been the team on the back end, helping the team who I have now as well. You've helped me get guests. You've helped me be on other podcasts just to get my voice out. You've helped me with strategizing and the set and everything. And so I'm very, very grateful towards you. So on that note, there's a lot to be thankful for.
And I would put that in my cookie jar.
And that's the thing, you're going to take that video, capture that, and then every morning you're like, oh, and then you get to be grateful for that too. On that note, guys, I'm grateful for you guys because you stuck it out with us this long, A, and B, you're here with me in the community. Drop a comment of something that you feel grateful for, and we appreciate all feedback that you have to offer. I look forward to seeing you next time.